Today's fairy tale is a wild Palestinian story about a woman who's an evil mosquito and cannibalizing babies. It's called Bear Cub of the Kitchen. There's a king who has 3 wives, and then one day a mosquito flies up his nose. He could not get it out, couldn't find a doctor east or west who could cure him, and eventually his nose gets so swollen he says, "It's over, I'm going to die." But then the mosquito said to him, "Look, I'll come out of your nose if you marry me. I am one of the jinn," like a genie. And she says, "You not only need to marry me, but let me do whatever I want with the 3 wives you already have." It says the king wanted to be cured, and thinking he could manage just as well without his other wives, he says, "All right, just come out." So the mosquito comes out and turns into the most beautiful woman ever, so beautiful she took one's mind away. The king's extra excited. He promised to marry this woman, and he says, "What are you going to do with my 3 wives?" And she says, "I want to gouge their eyes out, stick them in a well, and give them only a loaf of bread and a cup of water a day." And he's like, all right. There are actually many folklore stories where an evil woman makes a king gouge out his other wives' eyes, particularly in India. I talked about one called The Son of Seven Mothers. But in those, the man always does it. In this one, the woman does it herself. She gouges out their eyes, puts the eyes in a bottle that she sends to her jinn family for safekeeping, and then has them thrown into a well. Well, it turns out this man's 3 wives were all pregnant, and while they are in the well, the first one gives birth. She asks the others, "Are we gonna let him live like this?" And they're like, "No." So they kill him and they eat him. They divide him into 3 pieces, but the 3rd wife does not eat her piece. She doesn't have the heart to do it. Yeah. The 2nd wife gives birth. They do the same thing. The 3rd wife hides her piece and doesn't eat it. Then when the 3rd wife gives birth, she's like, "Hey, by Allah, why don't we save this child? He might be useful to us." And the other 2 are like, "Nah, you ate our kids. We're going to eat your kid." And she's like, "Actually, I didn't." When the other wives were like, "We have to kill your kid too. It's not fair." One said, "Give me back the leg I gave you." And the other one said, "Give me back the shoulder." And so she says, "Here," and brings out the leg and shoulder. So the other 2 women agree not to eat the child, and they raise him in the well instead, all 3 of them nursing him and being his mother. When the boy starts crawling and moving, he starts digging a hole in the well, and as he gets bigger, he keeps digging, and eventually he digs a tunnel to his father's kitchen. And then he is able to sneak into the kitchen and get food and bring it to his mother's because, they're only given that loaf of bread and cup of water a day. But he's also delightfully petty because when he's in the kitchen stealing the food, he takes 2 handfuls of salt, dumps them into the food being made for the royal family, and leaves. And so cooks keep getting fired for oversalting the food. And they're like, "It's not us who's doing this." So the kitchen staff are like, "We're gonna watch tonight and figure out who's oversalting our food." They see the boy come in, they catch him red-handed, and they're like, "Why are you oversalting our food?" And he says, "Why have my mother's eyes been plucked out and dropped into a well? I am their son." And then they're like, oh, this is the king's son. And then they just kind of like him and they call him Bear Cub of the Kitchen and just let him come and go as he pleases. Though I don't think anyone tells the king. It doesn't say, but he doesn't seem to know. His new evil jinn wife knows, though, because she's really jealous of him and wants to get rid of him. She pretends to be sick and tells her husband, "I need pomegranates from the Wadi Isib." So a wadi's like a valley from this treacherous place that no one comes back from alive. She's like, "Send Bear Cub to get me pomegranates from this valley." And so they send him, but he comes back alive with the pomegranates. Then she's like, "I'll send him to the region where my jinn people live. They'll kill him and he'll never come back." So she pretends to be sick and tells her husband she needs Bear Cub of the Kitchen to go bring her medicine from such and such place. The story says Allah helping him from above. When he gets there, everybody's gone. They're just all out, except for this one little girl. And she's next to all these bottles on a shelf. And he's like, "Hey, what's in those bottles?" And she's like, "Well, this one has my mother's soul. This one has my father's soul. This one has my sister's soul. She lives in such and such a place." The story says such and such a place, but it's the evil wife. And we know that because he says, "What are these things sparkling in this bottle?" And she's like, "Oh, those are the eyeballs of my sister's co-wives." And he's like, "What's in this bottle?" And she's like, "Oh, there's this medicine that if you put the eyeballs back in the eyes and you rub this medicine on them, they'll be fine again." He goes, "What are these ropes for?" And she says, "Whoever can take hold of these ropes will take the palace and its orchard wherever they want." She's really forthcoming. Finally, he's like, "What's this last bottle over here?" And she's like, "Oh, that's my soul." So he picks it up, cracks her soul, cracks the souls of her father, her mother, all of her family, but not the sisters yet. Then he takes hold of the ropes and he drags her entire palace and orchard back to his home. All the people at the palace are like, "Oh my God, Bear Cub is bringing an entire palace and orchard here." And the wife starts to freak out. She sees that Bear Cub is holding her soul in his hand. And he says, "Just like you plucked out my mother's eyes and left them in the well, I'm gonna crack your neck." And it says he cracks her neck. So definitely cracks her soul and destroys her. Then he gets his mothers out of the well, uses the magic medicine and their eyeballs to get their eyes back in place, and then takes his place by his father's side, and the wives get to come back like they were before. The end. Don't promise to marry a mosquito that flies up your nose, maybe. As always, check out my book, Dust Spells, a reimagining of the 12 Dancing Princesses, and my podcast. All the links are in the bio.